Welcome, everybody, to the Fireman Shop podcast by WCO. I'm your host, Cameron Monahan. With me again today, Mark Carcamo, Colin Kelley. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
All right. This morning we were talking about a little bit about before we started recording the subject we really want to hit on today, apparatus specification. Thoughts in general about that?
Wait times,
Huge.
price tripling, doubling, quadrupling. I don't know. We've seen that at least in my time on. It's forcing my people, which is heads up on my command staff and app committee, to try to get the money released from the government agency a lot sooner than when the rig actually needs replaced, so that they can go actively get the spec and ordering, the build going a lot sooner than when they actually need it, just because of these crazy 4-year wait times. I mean, that's something that's going on with Pierce and us lately, is a 4-year wait time for an aerial apparatus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have similar long delays on our end from Pierce. That's who we traditionally buy apparatus for as well.
I got something to add to that, and I would say, I would say without a doubt, probably the largest purchaser, and maybe I'm wrong, of TDAs in the industry is the city of Los Angeles. And I see over and over again, first, a lack of input from the people that are fixing the apparatus on a daily basis, the field mechanics, the guys that get these things and go, okay, here it is, here's a new one, with zero training from the manufacturer about a new rig, right? So that's the first thing. The second issue becomes they're not asking drivers, and I say that should be the largest input, I would think, in the design phase of that apparatus. And then also the captains that are riding the rigs, the firemen for sure, that should go through that operator. Hey, what are your guys' ideas? What do you like? What you don't like? But I think that these apparatus manufacturers have become kind of like they sit on this pedestal and tell these people, now this is what you want. I know what you asked for. This is what I'm going to give you. And I hate that, because we buy so many trucks. We just switched contracts again. And I think we're going to KME, this last thing I was told. And it's like, okay, I know you guys have a spec and you're going to take it and build it, but what do you give away? What are you telling them that you want? I don't need a generator that can start a year from now to the minute. I don't. I need a generator that starts when I need it. So they say this bill of goods, and then these hydraulic generators. I know I'm getting out of a tangent, but hydraulic generators, keep this in mind, guys, that rig ain't running, you ain't using that generator.
Concept stove defeats the entire purpose of said generator.
Yeah, it's like, please keep that in mind when you're
$30 for a hydraulic generator.
That's the upgrade.
That's what I've heard or been quoted by my guys on, versus a couple Honda Run Quiets that will do.
Well, I mean, and those are super simple because they do anything you need it to. But if you're going to spec an onboard and you want to use that thing, the beauty of that generator running when that rig is off and being diesel powered is, it's charging your system. It's dedicated to those batteries.
Mark, how do you feel about how much there's always been a struggle on my agency in terms of how much say-so in the spec and design the mechanics have versus the end users? And a lot of the times in the past, what the mechanics wanted wasn't good for us out in the field. We have finally gotten to a place where we're completely in sync, it seems to be, with our mechanic division, which has been really great. Like, we got a new mechanic in there. He's a chief mechanic. He's outstanding, and he works with us and wants our input. In fact, he makes sure, like, for my apparatus is getting replaced. It's been in the process for a couple of years now, but he makes sure that guys from my house that are, been there a long time are involved in this and going back to the,
Well, and see, I think before we came online, I was talking about our spec guy that's the infield guy, I would say, that does the majority of the input and stuff like that, works out at a station on the airport. His hands aren't on that basic rig that we're using, that pumper, that aerial ladder truck, right? So you got to rely on people to give you good, solid information. The reason I say mechanics step in is, what's your repair issues? I'm not asking that mechanic to to tell me how I want this aerial, where I want the lights on the aerial. That is not his input to me. I'm sorry. It's the user, the toucher, that gets his hands on, right? That's the guy that I want, or those are the guys that I want to talk to. You tell me about the stuff that's going wrong with the last couple sets of rigs we bought. And that's why I'm a big proponent. Forever, LA City was Seagrave on triples and aerials. And then for whatever reason, we started getting out in the woods, and now you got different manufacturers for each rig every 3, 4, 5 years. How does that mechanic keep up with that? Right. Yeah. I mean, because all you're doing is beating those guys down. It's, okay, you finally learned something about this thing, the idiosyncrasies. You got a program, and then, oh, here's a new rig. And then they give them no training on it and just go, there it is, take care of it. Luckily for us, we've got those field mechanics. And to me, those guys were lifesavers, because they understood the rig, because they're out there touching them all the time. And I think they developed, and I'm not saying that they were better, they just had the little idiosyncrasies down. And so they could find something, or, hey, yeah, if this happened in the other one, I got it. I know how to do this. I'll bring the parts. That way we're not wasting that time to line,
It's just like you and your own vehicle. They learn the personalities of their vehicle, their apparatus they're responsible for, and they know.
It's a chainsaw, right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The hand tools on a rig, they all have the same manufacturers, but each one of them's got a little bit of a tick.
Right.
And it's up to you to learn that tick.
I think you made a really good point about manufacturers kind of being a little pushy. I mean, even with the huge wait times, the huge costs, being pushy about what you want done with your rig from the end user. And they're not the one out there on the fire ground doing the job, and yet they can get a little bit pushy when you say, hey, this is how I want my rig built, and this is why. There is quite a bit of pushback, and I don't know if what that exactly is about. If that's about a cost thing, or if that's about they're trying to upcharge you, or if it's just they just don't know what's going on. They don't know how you operate and how you work. But I've noticed that quite a bit from the manufacturer side.
We've had that with our manufacturer, and it's the change in attitude where it used to be, I want to sell you this car. What do I got to do to sell you this car? It's now become, you should be lucky. That's kind of the feeling that we were, almost like a cockiness.
Yeah, 100%.
Completely subjective here, but I mean, that's what the overarching feeling's been in my department when dealing with these manufacturers, man. Like, wow, okay, you think you're king dingling, okay? Until you start talking about, well, we're going to go look at these guys now. And then all of a sudden, hey, we can maybe cut that build time down 12 months. Hey, I'm like, whoa, wow, that's interesting. Okay, let's talk. That's kind of what's gone on with us lately. So, yeah, there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, look at the triple side of that. I mean, let's start with that and just take a rig apart and go, okay, when these guys will tell you that, hey, yeah, or you say, hey, I want a deck gun, right?
Yeah.
But now the deck gun has got a remote control.
Yeah.
You got to hit a button for it to unbed itself to get to a point where you can use it. You pitch
So that the manufacturer gets 20 more G's.
Yeah.
Electronics, payments, installation.
And then the issue becomes, because I saw a video, and I think Colin and I saw it, and I don't know if you saw it too, Cam, probably a month ago. And these guys have a 2-story, the top floor is going real good, the attic's ripping fire.
Wait, put your deck, like they're all apartment house.
Yeah, put your deck gun in operation in there. It's like they've got these 2 worm gears with these handles on them, right? And every turn, the thing's moving about 1/4 of an inch. And it's like, okay, did we forget why we're here?
Yeah.
I mean, do we truly understand what we need this thing to do? I need it to be able to go unclamp it so it's not bouncing when we're driving, and it moves 360, and you go, hey, blow the monitor off your panel, and I got a shut off button down at the bottom of this thing to control it if I need to, right?
Yeah, it was
And
it was stowed. Like we have to pick a side, right?
Yeah.
It was stowed the off side or non-fire side, so it's taking forever to get around there to actually.
Well, yeah, I had to come up first so to clear, because we've designed these rigs to carry so much stuff, and I'm sure some of it's needed. But at a certain point, I think we overkill, right? We order a rig, and then the manufacturers tell us it does 1,000 things. I might do 2 or 3 things as a standard. Not great. It just does it as a standard, where it should be it might need to do 5 things standard, really great, and the rest of the things, hey, they're an afterthought. Oh, and ladders in a bay, whether it's an engine or a truck, vertically mounted. I mean, stop the horses with this crap. I'm going to push a button and wait for this ladder to come down, stowed up on top, and do its arc. And I'm thinking to myself, so much for the big rescue, right? That everybody talks about. Oh yeah, brink and fast.
I want to say something while you're on that. You've talked about the electronically controlled stang, wagon battery, deck gun. You've talked about electronically controlled ladder rack. They got the electronically controlled ladder pipe nozzle.
Yes.
Every one of these things break. I've seen every one of these things break in my career. And you can, hats off to, where were we at? Irving, Texas, Irving Fire Department near Dallas, I believe. They had a completely manual nozzle ladder pipe master string device on their bucket. And I thought, good for you guys. No, you can get that. You don't have to get all this, electronic crap. You don't. You just don't. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
And I guess we can talk about that while we're talking about that ladder with this automatic nozzle. I would ask, why are we speccing our rigs for the loss? Right? And I say that.
Oh, right. How much of that do we allow into the spec, right?
Right. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, so we're building a cost in saying we're going ladder pipe. And I got to tell you, I mean, in my career, I was ashamed if I made a parking lot, right? And I get it. We don't have control over that, right? What we can control is our turnout time, getting there and having SOPs, and everybody doing, realizing what their job is and sticking to the script. Now that may be ladder pipe, that may be ventilation, that may be rescue mode, whatever that is you can't beat it from the script, because the minute you walk away from your job, somebody else has to do it. So I'll fall back to hey, let's put this bitch in pre-plumbed waterway on there, and then it takes just one screw up, and that is not pinning it to the outer mid, and then it's crushed. Now it's useless. Now I don't have a waterway, and I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't I want to just go, when I'm at the point that I'm at ladder pipe, it's still an emergency operation, but is it as crucial as in time? Because we basically said we're writing this building off. There's other hand lines that should be controlling whether it spreads to another building and the deck guns that are on these engine companies. And I'm going to say it, everybody's got more engines than they do trucks, right? With the exception of maybe one department that I know of in the country. The rest of us are truck poor. And even LA City, when you look at it, it's 50 trucks, but it's truck poor when you compare it to like New York City, right? It is. But shouldn't the engines be in a position when they're pulling up that they spot for it, knowing what's 2 steps ahead of where I'm at? Right?
10 minutes from now.
What's that?
The 10 minutes from now.
Yes, right. Hey, when you hear that incident ticker talk going off and you go 10 minutes and nothing's changed, and then you hear 20 and nothing's changed. I mean, I know we're kind of getting off base here, but on the spec, expect your rig to operate in your area, jurisdiction, city, and make it work for you guys, not for LA City, not for Clark County. You do that when you're in those places. And hopefully that's what they're doing, and taking that spec and going, this is what we want. This is what we want you to build. Because I see that as like, there's no way that I'm going to tell these guys, hey, when I come back, you're going to sell me on a bill of bullshit like an electronic deck gun. Get the hell out of here. We use it too much. No, I'm not going to wait for it to bring itself up and then self-stow. It's bullshit. And then if it's broken, then I got to hit a bypass, and I got a worm gear that takes me a minute and a half to get it up just past where I can actually load the damn thing. It makes no sense. It isn't.
You said
Technology is good.
a lot of nerves there, and you hit a lot of.
Well, think about it though. Technology is an amazing thing, but guided technology, not technology for the sake of change.
You talked about speccing a rig for the loss. And I think a lot of fire departments are guilty of speccing their aerial apparatus for the defensive fire instead of how effective it is in the offensive setting, meaning we're going to support that company on the roof or what have you. Can I get the ladder to the roof instead of, I hear a lot of guys talk about what's your positioning plan on the truck? What's your game for positioning on your truck company? And well, I want to make sure I'm in a good spot in case this becomes a loser. And, no mention of, and I don't want to get into spotty, but no mention of offensive mindset. And why I say that is because that is a direct correlation into how you spec and what you bought from the manufacturer. The rear mount Quint 100-foot bucket is a rig designed for defensive operations. It is not an offensive friendly apparatus. And I'm speaking from experience 100%. It's an aircraft carrier to get into position. And then it's slow on the setup, but hey, it'll flow a lot of water from an elevated position if that's what your goal is. But we could get into an argument on, is that effective from up here or down here? What's more effective? And if it's down here, well, on my hose streams and my blitz fires and my portable monitors, going to be more effective and easier to set up and require a little bit less time. I mean, there's a whole show.
And for sure, real estate, right? Think about that.
Yeah.
If you're going to use that thing and lay it down on the ground and go on a one-story commercial because you want 1,500 or 2,000 GPMs, couldn't I do the same thing with 2 monitors? I know I can, and I'm probably going to get 4 or 5 monitors in that same footprint that you decided you needed to put this monster behemoth in place for. Now I got 5,000 gallons. Is that overkill? Probably, but I'm just trying to make the comparison of, I think guys let their nose fall off and spy their face and not realize there's a reason why we have monitors, deck guns, all those things. Those tower ladders, I'm sure, work in places that use them, and we've never had them in Los Angeles City. And I know I got a question asked by a friend of college one time and said, hey, it'd be a lot better if you guys had a couple tower ladders. And I go, well, I mean, I would say that the history of the department and how we've designed the rigs are, we try to keep it so that if I come from the north end of Los Angeles, the valley, and we get called into a fire in downtown Los Angeles, I have the same apparatus and can have the same capabilities as the guys that are down in the south end at the LA Harbor. They're all spec the same, and there's a lot to be said for consistency. Sold out.
For guys listening that may not have any clue about how to go about speccing their apparatus, you hit on a point, Mark, and you said you gotta understand how your district's set up. What are your buildings? What is the footprint? How does the street widths? All that type of thing, and that's going to vary obviously on larger areas as you go from poor to well-to-do or what have you, urban to suburban. But you also got to have, if your department doesn't have a culture, doesn't have an identity on how they operate on the fire ground, that makes it a lot harder to spec a rig that's going to work for you because you don't know what the hell you're going to do when you get there. Let me just go ahead and say that. Apart from that, if you do have a reasonable expectation that a truck company, first do, second do, or first do truck, second do truck, is going to be expected to do these things, then you can go and start to understand, okay, well, how does this rig need to work for me? You got to have a positioning plan because that absolutely ties into your rig design. And I do want to give my department credit because we got tired of this and we got the right people into the positions of power upstairs who had been end users, exhausted with poor design, just kind of being, this is what you get from a very small group of people who are making the decisions, like you said, Mark, on your agency, for a lot of people, and weren't in the area actually to use these rigs. Finally, this chief officer said enough's enough after a couple bad purchases. I'll leave it at that. And he actually tasked me with, hey, find out, here's the department. I had already had, if you have to play, a lot of guys got to play at the department's got to play within a manufacturer. Or else you have to, and Cameron's shaking his head, thinking, or else you have to rewrite the entire deal. And, how government bidding goes, lowest bidder and all this stuff. And you got to put it out to bid. And there's all these, which sometimes we follow, sometimes we don't. That said, I played within the realm of the manufacturer we use. And I said, we need to look at this one instead of these that we're buying. And to this chief's credit, he said, okay, we've made the mistake 3 times now. We're not going to do it anymore. I put a stop to this. And here's the departments that have the rig that you've been beating me over the head with, Colin. Pick one. And so then became a matter of, and good on him, right? He said, oh, you pick the place. We're going to go and we're going to look at their stuff. And then it became a situation of, I needed to find out which department operated like us, which department's infrastructure / districts looked like ours. how do they go to, what do they do with their trucks of fires? Do they go to the roof? Do they position their aerial for the aerial out of row? And then it narrowed it on down to Dallas, Texas. And those guys were extremely friendly and helpful. And we had a liaison out there from one of the captains on my job who'd already been talking to a guy. And that's where we went and we looked at a couple different rigs, and it was a great thing. So please, I say all this to know that this is what you can do if you're trying to figure out how to go about this as a young fireman, or maybe in a smaller place. Find out who has the rigs that you are looking at, and by all means, firemen are great about helping other firemen. Then reach out to them, and they'll probably facilitate a little trip, host you and get you what you need to do. I mean, we visited the stations that had it. We saw them. We had that. They ran through a training evolution with it, like a roof operation. They went through the setup. We saw how fast it set up. They let my guys drive it. We met with their mechanics division and found out, like Mark said, what breaks on these things. So they had these rigs for years now, and all that to say is my truck that's being replaced is the first one that's resulted from that trip. And I'm pretty excited about this truck company that we're going to get here. And it isn't going to have a pre-plumb waterway. So there's that. There's that. We got that going for us. So anyway, I say all that for the guys listening to that might not have any clue on how to go about this.
Cameron's another one that can, your input, I think, on this, Cameron, is you guys went from a rear mount aerial, right, to tiller truck.
Yeah.
So first off, you have to go. Remember, the biggest sale is to sell this super duper, the most versatile aerial apparatus that is made in the United States, in my eyes, right? It's just super versatile. But you got to get these guys sold on this bill of goods.
You're talking about TDA or MI?
Yeah, going from a straight or a rear mount, mid mount to a TDA. And it's like, what you gain, and I'll let Cameron take it over and go. He knows what they did, and I think it's worth listening to, because you might have that department that's smaller like Cameron's and are trying to sell this bill of goods. And how do you do it?
I think Colin mentioned it. It's, hey, what are your SOPs and SOGs? What's that first due for us, right? We're talking truck. What's the first due's truck expectation? What's the second due truck's expectation? Okay, does that truck that we currently have meet that, or is there a better truck capable of meeting those expectations? And then also applying, what does the district look like? So when that first due truck comes in, is that truck capable of accomplishing it in the best way possible, or no? And is there a better truck able to do that in your district or in your response area about being able to accomplish that first due, second due, third due truck? And for us, we looked at that very well, and the TDA accomplished all of that. From a rear mount aerial device pre-piped, we went to a TDA Quint that is not piped, and just the advantages. And like we said, like you said, mentioned in the beginning, or Mark, where you're not really happy when you come in and you make a parking lot out of that fire. Sometimes you're behind the 8 ball. That's the cards you get dealt. That's what you have to do, but you're not happy. So this thing's set up for an offensive fire attack going to the roof now, to the best that we could do at the time. And the setup time on the TDA going to the roof over a rear mount, man, we had to have cut that time down by a minute easily, just with the 2 stabilizers coming out with the steel slide on pads instead of the composite pads like we had. We had 3 or 4 H-type stabilizers on rear mounts, so now we went down to just those 2 H-type that come out super fast, and you get them down really fast without you don't even need to use the level assist like you need to use on a lot of these rear mounts now to get that thing leveled. And I got to say this with the ladder that Pierce put out, that ascendant ladder, it moves really, really fast. It's so light that it can get up there pretty fast, and it just really changed the game for us, because that pipe coming out of the way too with some short throws, it's no longer worried about it being in the way. And really on those defensive fires, we've had this thing for 3-4 years now, man, you do not notice that missing that pipe nearly as much as you do on all of the offensive fires.
When it gets in the way.
It gets in the way all the time. We still have one. We still have a rear mount that has a pipe at one of the stations, and it gets in the way compared to the other one. But man, you sure don't miss it on those defensive fires. That with a trained crew getting that pipe on there pretty fast, it's not a big deal at all, really, for me.
It's sets and reps, right? Like anything else. It's like that thing, it goes up really fast if you got a trained crew and they know what they're doing and there's no missteps. Everybody sticks to the script. It's pretty flawless operation putting that into a elevated master stream. It's just, and that's where I think a lot of these departments lose it, right? They don't spec for access, egress, elevated master streams and ventilation. They don't do that. They do it for throwing water out of this elevated stream, because all the other things are secondary in that basket. It truly is. Got to load that thing. Then you got to get it to the roof line, and then go, oh shit, you know what? Can't lower it down there because there's a pipe underneath that's protecting it. So now, how do we adjust for that, right? Okay, and we've seen some interesting operations of guys lowering from the tip of an aerial, whatever that aerial device is, down to a roof line. That's like, man, please understand one thing, and I know these apparatus manufacturers will probably kick me in the nuts, but you can kiss that tip to the roof line. You absolutely can. Stop this 2 feet off bullshit, because you're endangering your people.
I just want to support that statement with my current truck. We've been kissing parapet, bearing walls for years. And when we say kiss, let's be clear to the listener. Turn off the high idle as you're approaching the wall. Slowly come in, and when you see that it's about to touch, you're right there. You touch it. No more downward PSI. We're not trying to cantilever the ladder itself. That said, we've been doing that for years, and we're the only ones that were doing it. Everyone else thought we were crazy. And we just got a report back from our command. They actually came to our station and thanked us for a lot of things, but one of them, we had the oldest truck, definitely the most used truck. It's been kissing bearing walls for a long time now, and it's one of the few aerial ladders that didn't fail in my agency on the annual test. Everyone else is afraid to do it, but their ladders are failing the annual NFPA test. Isn't that interesting? So if you're doing it right, you're not going to damage your ladder.
No, and it comes down to actually doing it, right? Like if you're not out there transitioning on the roof lines with saws and with hooks, and especially in my area in the wintertime with snow and ice, you want that thing down. You don't want that thing up, and it's
Make the bounce out.
He's lightweight. I just said, hey, I love the Ascendant for the lightweight for the movement, but when that thing's floating, it bounces quite a bit, and that thing will smack that roof 100% if you leave that off too far. And so taking that weight off of that, tremendous safety improvements for the guys transitioning to the roof.
It's funny as I know it. It's funny that we're so used to it at my house, our crews, that when we don't do it, these guys don't know how to walk up a ladder anymore. Oh, how do I deal with this movement? We're so, it's so ingrained, and once you do it, it'll ruin you. You're not going to want to go back. It's unsafe compared to having a bridge that doesn't move on you.
Yeah.
Think about that, guys. When the fireman closer to the tip is going up with his equipment, and this guy is a section back, if you're, being extra careful, or at least, a minimum 2 on the same section, and that guy gets off, and that cadence is out of step, and then the ladder goes. That's how guys get bucked off ladders.
Mm-hmm. It's the 250-pound unweighting. It travels the length of that ladder. Mm-hmm. It travels from the tip down to the other side. Think about that. You got one hand on the rail, and the other hand you got a ladder, a roofer, or something you're bringing up. You better be ready,
especially on a low yourself. Oh, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Even more so. The other thing that TDA did for us, and I think we're expecting a new one right now and ordering it. It's going to do quite a bit more because this one does have exterior ladders on it, is the amount of ground ladders that we were able to go to.
Oh, I got to congratulate you for applying ladders on your ladder company.
Yes.
Outstanding.
And I'm going to beat this into something, and that's another thing I'm going to take an ass whooping on, and I know it is. Do you know why you spec the TDA apparatus? Compartment space and ladders. It carries more than any other aerial device out there, right? Carries more ladders if you use your head, or you can screw up and go, let's take that area where the offside ladders will be below the tiller bucket, and you spec that to what you people use, but it should be a ladder. It's convenient for you, one on each side. And I will say, if you turn that into compartment space, or we've seen rigs that it's a big flat piece of diamond plate and there's tools mounted on the outside. What in the wide world of sports were you thinking? That's all I can say. It's like, might as well just get a rear mount with compartments on it, because you just did the same damn thing. You didn't improve anything. You didn't improve compartment space, and you didn't improve the actual thing that thing is designed for, and that is to carry ground ladders, besides having an aerial.
Mark, can you talk to I mean, it seems obvious, but maybe some people, what's the benefit of having that side mounted ground ladder?
Okay, so in LA, in any house that has a truck, there's going to be at a minimum an engine company in that same station, right? So the truck leads the parade. I know it doesn't do that in a lot of places, but truck leads the parade, thank God. But having said that, you get to a place, and I'm going to go with Cameron's area, right, where the truck and the engine run separate out of the same house. So they get a fire, and Cameron's truck pulls up, and it's a Quint, but there's an engine coming right behind him. If that engine operator isn't attuned with the spotting of the truck and knowing that you can block that ladder bay, so there's the first strike, right? But the solution to that is the two outside ladders that are mounted. So on all rigs, it's standard. Every truck in the city's got two 35-foot extensions mounted on the outside. And they go from anywhere from 20 to 35 feet. Think about the functionality of that. Yeah, it's a little bit heavier, but it's two-man ladder because it's wood. It's 175 pounds. But the beauty is anywhere from 20 to 35 feet, we got it covered. And it's not going to get cock blocked by a guy that's low round bunches, and he sees smoke and fire, forgets, hey, I got to leave 20 feet. That's the training of putting a guy in a tiller bucket and going at the very end. If it's a narrow street, can you kick it one way or another so that this guy coming in the side isn't going to block your bay? So, I mean, it's twofold, right? But if the ladder bay is blocked, you still have two ladders outside that can be thrown in. For us, two ladders is the minimum to go on a roof line. That's what we try to do at a minimum.
And I think even going on with that too, the ladder theme for the TDA is my area, and I think a lot of suburban areas are getting more and more dense. Instead of just being the traditional single family dwelling, now it's coming into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-story center halls. A lot of them, right? They're trying to fit in more people, and just the amount of ground ladders, but also the variability in ground ladders. We went from just traditionally having 14 or 16 foot straights with 24 extension, 35, sometimes 3 section 35s, right? Beasts. To now being able to 35s, 28s, 24s, 20s, 16s, 14s, right? Just to increase the amount of ground ladders and the ability between what you're able to do with them tenfold, just a great improvement there.
Yeah, and what you did is just on what we've been talking about is find out what your needs are and address them, right? I know a guy up, Jeff Hockala up, and he was specking a tiller rig, and he goes, hey, what should I do? And I go, dude, if you don't do anything else, listen to me, put a diesel powered generator and 2 exterior ladders. Whatever ladders work in your area is the ones you want outside, just in case you get that guy or that, that fire, it's congested, whatever it is. And you may get your first ladders off, but that doesn't mean when that guy sees that ladder bay open, he goes, hey, yeah, they threw their ladders. He's not thinking, in most cases, are they going to use more ladders out of that tunnel? I'm okay to come up and block this now, right? They see the hatch open, the ladders are gone, the first company's working, but then you go, isn't this a toolbox that's in front of the fire? Isn't it most convenient? I want to strip that rig, right? And again, I'm against grabbing saws and shit like that off somebody else's truck, because first off, I don't know where they're at. But second off, I don't know the idiosyncrasies. I want to bring my shit because I know how it starts. Mm-hmm. But at the ladder base there, why wouldn't they use it, right? There's another 35, whatever that means. And I'm just getting at is that's the beauty of going, put on the outside what you think your area needs, and you've addressed the issue of somebody possibly coming up and blocking that bay and rendering it useless for you at the fire, right in front of the fire, and you got nothing you can grab. To me, it's like it defeats purpose.
Mm-hmm. Cam, I'm curious how you guys, being in a maybe a smaller kind of area, or smaller department area, kind of a sprawling area, goes from suburban to rural and all that in between. How did you get away from these chief officers just fixation on the first arriving rib, no matter what it is, needs water? The Quint thing, that whole Quint thing.
I think it just took the time, like you said, we developed SOPs and SOGs. There's engine manuals, there's truck manuals that have SOGs that give the Chiefs credit. They bought into once they saw them demonstrated. And the more they saw them demonstrated and they saw them work, the more they bought into it and said, just go, because it's obviously working. It's working better because a lot of them worked the same way I worked previously when we were just mostly IC driven firegrounds. And, you know, we can get into that topic a different day first. Or, hey, we're staging down the street a block, you know.
What do you mean when they said go and they saw it work? What did they see work?
They saw those, hey, first do engine, second do engine, third do engine, first do truck, second do truck. What are these companies doing based on the fire and the building type? Hey, these SOGs are working, and what you guys are asking for in these engine specs or in these truck specs is working as well, along coordinated with that. And so now they're doubling down even more, right, and letting us being able to do exactly kind of really what we want. We've had to hold back on a few things on an engine spec and a few things on this TDA spec the first time around, but now that we're getting into the second round of buying engines and trucks since doing this, it's kind of like, hey, what do you want? And we're getting it. And it's
Did they let you guys eliminate the pump on the second truck, Cam?
yeah. They did.
I mean, I mean, just for a bean counter that's has no idea what the fire department's about, you put those two rigs next to each other, that same TDA, and I know it's different now because, you know, every 3-4 years the price goes up at least twofold. But if you just put an apple to an apple, I'm just wondering what the savings would be without that pump and hose and all that other crap. The electronic ladder, you know, the pre-plumb waterway. It's a significant savings. It is.
It's interesting how we've gotten away in the fire service from the what ifs, right? I mean, we were supposed to be thinking about the potential a lot with what we have in front of us, but also the potential. How bad can this get? And we seem to be abandoning how bad things can get in our operations, the training that we get from the departments. But yet the whole Quint thing is the one area where those chief officers will still but the what if. And if you talk about bean counter, Mark, and you talk about apples to apples, cost effectiveness, the pump hours on that Quint compared to the pump hours on that engine, it's 1% versus 99.
Because I know
Doesn't make financial sense.
the people that are riding that rig understand it's a truck company. That's the basis of it, right? It's a truck company that has the ability to flex into an engine. And I get that. I mean, if I was the guy that was counting beans and going, well, I only got 4 guys, it's a one department rig, or excuse me, a one station department, and all we have is this. Well, how would I get away with it? I guess I could have a rear mount with a Quint on it, right? So if we went somewhere else, and we were second due or whatever how this worked out, we still have the ability to throw an aerial ladder and do vertical ventilation. Okay, that makes sense. It does. I'm not going to be dumb enough to say it doesn't.
Absolutely.
But when we go, we have the ability of having truck companies, and we know most departments, as they start to grow with engines, not trucks.
Take just for instance, take my district. We're inundated with engine companies around us. It's arguably the busiest fire area in town, and I have a pump on my truck. It's a Quint, and I will tell you, it's been used. I can't remember the last time it's been used.
There it is. All right. I mean, I rest my case. It's once guys understand the usefulness of truck work and what's involved in it. And, you know, we'd had this little thing because we always had that engine ball on us. If we were clearly first on scene, I'd do the aerial and we went in fire attack. If I was throwing the aerial ladder and the engine was coming around the street, we'd throw an audible. Hey, the engine's here. We're going back into truck work. And that's what we did. So that's very rare did I actually get that fire attack assignment.
Right.
Based on my arrival time, right? Because what I think Cameron said there makes a lot of sense. And when you're selling this bill of goods, they have to also realize, how did these guys arrive? What was the sequence of arrival, right? And you see how a killer truck, even if it's not first there, can wiggle its way into areas that Quint, the rear mount, that mid mount, or that basket cannot do. It's, oh my God, it's night and day. And I know Cameron knows that. It's, wow, this thing is maneuverable.
And I think just taking that pump off, because the pump sits on the tractor, pushing that pump off and being able to push that turntable forward now, increases that ability of, okay, because I got to get that turntable where I need it, and taking that and pushing that forward might buy you those few extra feet that you need in the maneuverability to get that turntable where you need it for.
Well, hey, here's the thing about that rig, and that's what I say all the time. That knuckle allows you to pull up to something and at the last minute, take that cab and throw it whatever the hell way you want it to, and push that knuckle up into the spot that you need it. I can go almost 90 degrees that damn thing. It's like, you can't even believe, what other rig can you do that on? You can't. You can't. I can't push that knuckle forward on any other rig. Where I pull those baits is where it's going to sit, right? But I can pull this thing up maybe 4, 5, 6 feet by turning that cab one way or another. Amazing, the versatility of it. It really is.
What other kind of things are you guys thinking about? Maybe specifically engine. We talked about the
hose lays.
We target hose lays. So with hose lays, on most fire departments, right? What are some things they could improve with hose lays?
Mark talked about this earlier on, and I wrote it down to remind myself. We see it all over social media, right? There's a lot of younger firefighters who are maybe working in smaller, not very busy places, who, without doing their due diligence and getting out and understanding how their district's built, understanding what they can get, not having strong operating guidelines, how do you fight fire? They want to emulate the big boys. They want to emulate New York City. They want to emulate LA City. And we've seen that with engine companies. And I've seen a lot, not a lot, but a handful of smaller, less busy organizations brag online how they're doing away with cross transverse beds, cross lays, and going all off the back. And I just scratch my head. Like, why would you do that? And please, someone, well, I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on this for the agencies that use off the back, but I have off the back and I have transverse beds. And I'm not talking about a pre-connected cross lay. Please don't make that mistake. I'm talking about a bulk transverse bed and bulk rear bed. Why the hell would you get rid of that extremely versatile option on the transverse side of things? And you look at those engine companies, and it's literally now become a bin for foam buckets or something. It's just this, whatever's left over on the river, we're going to throw up in that space. And I don't understand why you would sacrifice that. Now, there's the New York City example, and okay. And if you understand their positioning game and their apparatus spec is based off their districts, how tight the streets are, how vertical the city is. They got to get their aerial apparatus up front for potential victim rescues, roof access. Okay, I'll give you that. And so that first engine pulls up, those guys get out and they do a reverse. They reverse away from the fire to the hydrant or whatever, and they just get the rig out of the way. That works for your first engine, but now every other engine coming into that fire, if it's coming up behind those aerial apparatus and hose lays need to come off it, you've just made your engine company the first pinch point unnecessarily because you didn't want a transverse bed. I mean, a 400-foot crossley transverse bed, that's a lot of hose, and that's going to get you most places. And Mark can speak to this way more than I can because that's literally his engine company's design. So to give up a hose lay that can be pulled ahead of the rig, 180 degrees to the rear of the rig, and around the offside pull when you don't have the space on the fire side, that works for every engine company arriving, no matter what number it is. Whereas relegating your hose lays to all off the back, well, that's going to work for the first one, but now you're making a lot more work for every other arrival. And don't get me wrong, when you're stacked like FDNY with 100 guys standing out front of this thing, you got plenty of guys to work that pinch point. But that's not most of us. In fact, that's none of us. So the rest of us are, Cam, there's plenty of places with 3 guys on an engine. Why would you do that to yourself? Your staffing's got to play a role in this too, right? Like, let's make these hose lays work for us. If the building should offer the first pinch point, not the apparatus. And transverse bends are just, the pros outweigh the cons. Now, please, listeners, haters, guys that are running, please Prove me wrong. By all means, prove me wrong. Because maybe there's something I'm not thinking about, but I didn't want to get on that tangent, but I had to say that about that. That just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, and when you're talking about that, let's also talk about that pre-connect line. And it's like, why would that, whatever you've deemed is your limit in that bed, 200, 300, why would that be your impetus to go, okay, now we got to get a hose pack? Because it just doesn't make why would you add steps into an operation? And let's put this gauntlet down and say, what's the number one thing we can do to mitigate a fire? The number one thing. It's not rescue. It's not ventilation. It's water on the fire.
Absolutely.
End of fucking story. That's it. You can argue that you're blue in the lips, you're full of shit. I'll say you're full of shit. Water on the fire will start to mitigate that emergency. So why would we decide that we're going to add steps into putting water on the fire? Shouldn't that hose leg come flying out? And I will tell you, in the old days, our old crowns that were in these really large industrial areas that had very high life loss. I just didn't say that. During the day, when they're manufacturing, high life loss, but the size of the fire is what dictated. They had 2.5 crosslays. And I'm thinking to myself, fucking genius. Hell yeah, right? Let's do that. Why? And I get it now because remember, everybody wants to have brush, 1,000 EMS instruments, a backboard. Okay, that's bitching. What does the RA bring to fucking fire? Just somebody explain that to me. Well, hopefully two bodies and some breathers. But other than that, it didn't bring any fire equipment. So why the hell do we have to have backboards on the fucking engine companies? It's like, and I know I'm getting passionate about it, but it's like, let's stop let's spec the rigs for EMS shit.
So well, you're hitting on our previous show on this whole mission creep. That's what do our apparatus spec.
It is though. I mean, because if you're specing your rigs for the defensive fire and you're specing your rig for the EMS call, well, I mean, why are you a fire department? Fuck, let's just go, hey, you know what? All ambulances. Fuck it.
Mark, it's funny you mentioned I come from a pre-connected 200-foot crosslay department.
It's me as well.
And I've talked to these guys about you guys. Number one, what I've seen in my time on this job is pre-connects dumb down firemen. They dumb down the engine men from being able to estimate the stretch. As that's their go-to. Oh shit, 200 feet didn't reach. What do I do? I got to get the bundle and build off the breakaway. Their whole argument for not wanting to abandon the pre-connected line is speed of deployment. Well, you may get me out the gate because we don't have to break a coupling and plug it into the pump panel, but I'm going to get you because now you got to attach a bundle and I'm going to the fire.
Well, and the argument doesn't, let's flip the script. No matter what, I'm taking 200. So what if it's not that 200?
That's why.
So now I got to stretch the extra 100 feet out and get it flaked in order to use this correctly.
If the pre-connect doesn't work, guys pull 2.5 off the back and connect to an 1 3/4 bundle. I don't need 2.5 fire flow on this fire.
Yeah, and that's
what now we're relegated to doing.
And it makes sense. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's. And we've said this before, and I know Colin and I it's one of my peas is like, it's so funny how if you were in New York or Dallas, Denver, LA, Seattle, or in Utah, you guys just had a shooting incident.
Mm-hmm.
I will bet you my bottom dollar that all the police departments kind of operate the same way, right? And I say that because they share information, right? Fire departments are a little bit different because of topography, the actual buildings that they serve, and the stuff like that. But it sure seems like the PD shares their information, and it's a lot more standardized around the country than fire stuff is. And then again, I'll give that caveat is, yeah, you got a spec for your area, but shit, I mean, something like that, it just doesn't make sense to me that it's just not a bundle on there and you pull what you need. That guy goes, you know what? I think they need 50 more. I can control that mess here at the panel. He pulls it, plugs it in, and you fucking go away. Because he's putting it in pump no matter what and throttling up. The last thing he has to do is break it and plug it in. It's like, fuck, it gives you the versatility. And then, my son's department has a bumper line. And I know a lot of places do that. We don't do that. We got 3 beds. 1 inch, 500 feet. 1.5 inches, 400 feet. 1 3/4, 400 feet. The 1.5 inches is an auto fire line. And guess what? Because like Colin said, We don't have to have that front one. And I get it. It's maybe a safety thing where they, hell, they'll put their ass out and the hose is coming from the front, but I can always go to the side of the street. That's the side I'd always pull off of if I was going to pull that line. If there was a shoulder, I'm going to pull on the shoulder side of the freeway, not out in the fucking traffic. Let's be smart enough to go. Got to give our people some flexibility. But the crazy thing is, you don't have to spec that thing for that thing up front if you spec your rig right. I'm sorry, it's static. It's sitting there. You use what you need, and he breaks it. And it's like, and then I see all the bullshit, and then these guys are at auto fires, and nobody brings a rotary saw. And I know I'm getting off, and nobody brings a dry chem to protect the guy that's putting the fire out in case something flashes on him. That dry chem is the fix-all. It is the fucking fix-all. It takes away oxygen. Boom, engulf a minute. If the thing takes, and it's like, and so the second guy comes up and didn't bring shit, and it's just like, okay, fuck it. No wonder why they want you to have a 3-man engine. The fourth guy ain't doing shit. No, the cam ain't doing shit. It's like, let's have a 2-man engine. Fuck it, driver and the guy pulling the line. It's like, you gotta make people understand, like Cameron said earlier, why you operate the way you do and make it as streamlined as possible so they see, that's why you want this. That's why you guys don't want this on the rig, right? And if you showed me why that is, yes, let's go with that. You got to be able to sell your bill of goods to somebody. Otherwise, they're going to sell you the bill of goods they want you to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for a long time, our engines were getting larger and larger and larger. It's starting to look like heavy rescues, right? It's just carrying more and more equipment that didn't matter. So I think the best thing our engine guys did this way, just like with the truck, with the TDA in a suburban environment, they knocked those engines down to 30 feet long and 10 feet high, and they're just carrying water and hose for the most.
And Bravo.
Yeah. And what you guys mentioned too, that bulk bed concept that we have now, and the ability to break and just connect, man, that made such a game-changing difference over where I was for the majority of my career, was that 200-foot pre-connect on everything. And then if we're going to go long, we have to do some sort of an alley lay with the 2.5 and a Y or something, right? That never worked out right.
That time factor is
so long, cook so long.
Cam, so you guys went from the pre-connected to this bulk bed.
Yeah, no, we have a 400-foot 1 3/4 one.
How are guys receiving that when they're used to the pre-connect?
That's the only thing that comes off now. Every time. And none of the engineers complain one bit about having to make that break at 250, 300, 350 and making that connection.
And Mark talks about your department has to provide the right amount of nozzles, but man, if I got a trailer fire, a mobile home park, I don't know if you guys got them, but we got them. 200 feet is way too much line.
Way too much.
So to have that bulk bed where maybe I'm using 75, 100 feet of 1 3/4, and that's just because I don't have a choice to stretch 75, right? That engineer has another nozzle to address that line. You can get your fire cap line, your backup line, 2 exposures line from one bed for fire like that.
But I will tell you what I have noticed on my department, and it was something that was beat into guys' heads early, and that is, the minute that line gets broke and plugged in, you know what that engineer's next move was? Rest the fucking bed. I don't see that anymore. They're losing the skill set.
Dangling couplings.
Just a dangling coupling, right? They're losing the skill set of, and I hate to say it, and I know there's guys out there still that will prove me wrong, but the overarching thing is, that these guys are not dressing their beds, and it's like, that's the beauty of it. You don't have to use it all. You don't have to lay out 200 if you don't need 200, right? And for us, every fourth fold is 50 feet. So you don't need ears hanging off the side of it. You teach your rookie, hey, count 4 away from the nozzle. You brought 50 with you. Count 4 away the other direction. Now you got 100 with you, right? So it's just as easy as having all these fucking ears that are flapping around there in the fucking wind, and on a transverse bed, you might have the issue of it catching onto something if they're long enough. I've seen these things that are 18 inches long, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is the purpose of that? So they can put it through their shoulder? I can do that when I drop it to the ground and put it in. So, it's just, again, it's teaching your people the right thing and knowing, hey, how does this look and which direction do I go to find that 50-foot or 100-foot mark? And I get it. There are some things where guys need to put stuff up on their shoulder, but we've done that too. Hey, put 100 up on your shoulder because you know that is. Have your buddy help you real quick, and then you're off to the races. I
I think that there's an argument for the ground letters on the engine company to be side mounted as well. They take up compartment space on one side of that rig and have that 24 or that 20 extension on the side of the rig of the engine company, just the same as a truck.
Yeah, that electric button shit for these things sitting up on top, it's like, fucking, why have it? What's the point? Right? Unless you're, I mean, I don't think I can find a reason to say I need to wait for this thing. And what's the timeline? I don't know. We've never had them, but to me, it just looks like, and then, hey, now what happens if the guy parked too close on that fucking side? Are they coming off? It's not coming off, right? He didn't have a choice. Fucking narrow street. Oh yeah, we need a ladder for rescue. Well, you know, we can't get ours off. We'll get the next company will take care of you. They'll get you. It's like, come on, guys. With that, it was for user friendliness.
Cam, I would say also that, you know, pump capacity, you know, we're getting away from water risk, going to these pucks, these PUCs. We're getting away from the relief valve to this governor system. We're eliminating LDH intakes in dry engine. You know, something that, so in my department, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 generations of engine companies. First out. And so I make sure that I mention, and when I work overtime, I go and count my intakes and what diameter they are. You know, so I understand that if I need to maximize the hydrant, this is what I have to do to make that puzzle piece fit. And do we have the couplings or the adapters, you know, or the appliances to make that work in the compartment? And oftentimes 1 doesn't equal 2. And I think our apparatus, specification committees are also losing that history, that lesson. You know, the engine company should be one thing it should do very well is take in water and distribute water at high volumes. And, you know, Mark, to his department's credit, man, they have 2-stage pumps. You know, most of us have to put an additional engine in the mix to get from that out of that, you know, higher streaming PSI operation and start moving more volume of water. But it isn't the same as, you know, the beauty of that 2-stage system. But we've limited the GPM output of our pumps, you know, from 2,500 to 15. Wait a minute, slippery. Oh, that's what the puck. Yeah, we don't seem to. We've got people in the position of engineer, you know, engine company, apparatus operator, whatever your terminology is, that maybe don't truly understand how that works and what goes into that and how those holes in the engine and the size of those holes work with that hydrant and the volume coming out of that hydrant, how to maximize. The full wave out.
Since you're talking about that, and I would say here's something I think a lot of places don't understand. You could have a 66-inch large diameter hose. The truly limiting factor is what's underground. That main size is key to what is going to happen. You have to keep that in mind. Guys, do not do that now.
It's an 80-pound item on a 6-inch main.
Doesn't mean shit. That's my point. It's the size of the main that is going to control what you get at the end there, out of the tips, water out of that tip. And a guy I'm super respectful of, when he was our test pit engineer, you know, that just, I listened to him intently because he's all things water. It's like, because I don't care how big you spec that fucking hose. If that underground main ain't doing what it's supposed to do and it's not the right size, doesn't matter how big that fucking supply line is.
You're not going to tie stuff out of our control, right? So make damn sure your engine company can pull, because we do pull water out of the system. When we start really pumping.
There's the beauty of the 4-way valve, right?
4-way, maximizing LDH intakes, maximizing the pump output. I mean, like, spend the money.
Plumbing, our old plumbing on the, you know, our front suctions used to be smaller. It's quicker because you can pop in there real quick and go at a 45 when you don't have a skill set and go, shit, I hit my spot, and go for the front suction. On our old rigs, they didn't have a shut off on it. So once you loaded that fucker, it's coming in, right? So those guys would come in and go, hey, I'll take care of the front suction, but the good guys would spot so they get the front suction, and then they had their keystones on their other one, so they never have to worry about water coming out of it. But I would say the issue becomes they didn't realize that the front suction had smaller plumbing coming in it than they had on the sides. It's like your head.
Laguerre talks a lot about the friction loss that the pump plumbing creates without you even realizing it. Because they, you know, to that 1.5 discharge, it's going 5 rights and lefts before it gets there. And I'm being exaggerative. I don't really know all that's his area, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, make sure that it's as simplistic as possible on the other side of that panel.
And keep it, when you have a spec, keep a spec for all of it. Oh, hey, okay, let's reduce it. Yeah, it's a front suction. Let's reduce it down an inch. Well, you just put a restrictor on it. I mean, it's like, come on.
My agency, we're running into, we've eliminated intakes. We're from 3 to 3 now to 2 and 2, 2 5-inch, 2 2.5. But we've also cut down on the GPM output of the pump, and we are seeing it on fires where, your commercial fires or these running attic apartment buildings where that engine's getting taxed a lot sooner than it used to. It's getting taxed. I'm maxed out. I can't get any more.
Let's see that.
We only got 2 2.5s and a 600 gallon minute bliss fire. I mean, this shouldn't be like that, Oh wait, I also didn't maximize my hydrant. I didn't capture every steamer. Oh wait, okay.
And I'm not source pumping the hydrant, right? I mean, it's just like you got to. That's the beauty of where, at least in my foundation, was once you understand how water is and why that 2-piece engine company that we runs the way that it does. It's the versatility of that guy turning around, sees a big fire, turns around the intersection and backs up to that engine that's in front of the fire and lays one and drags one. They're pulling 2 4-inchers off that fucker right now. 2 4-inch supplies it. It's going right into that engine in front of the fire. It's like that pump capacity of 1,500 GPMs is going to get drowned out. It is.
I realize
guys understand.
I realize this isn't an actual engine company spec, but if you understand that 4-way valve, how that works, Mark educated me to that. I put my fire department onto it. Man, especially if you're dealing with, well, it doesn't matter dry barrel or wet barrel, but I'm in a dry barrel easy because the winters get pretty cold in the desert. And so every steamer is one stem. So you better be able to boost pressure. Well, guess what? I don't have a 4-way. I didn't account for that. I got to shut the entire fire down for this one. Whereas, in a wet barrel, it's multiple. It's a stem for every discharge. So you got that going for you if you're wet barrel. But when you're dry barrel, the entire fire flow supply is shut down so that we can get another engine on, because we're just not being able to move enough water because we got an engine for us with these less output pumps. We're seeing that we need an engine every 300 feet at least, at our max to like boost that pressure. So if you're not thinking about source pump, I would say that a department that's resource poor, more rural, man, 4-way should be standard. Standard.
Hell yeah.
See, I make that argument for the busy departments, and it's just to be able to boost pressure. It doesn't matter if you're the 10th engine on scene. With application of that 4-way, man, on the hydrant, you can do it. It's an amazing appliance. Amazing.
Well, and why not have that engine pumping and being another cog in there instead of just having it sit down the street?
Yeah. Fuck.
I have seen recently at a fire, not my agency, but I'll leave it alone at that. The command was, hey, we need you to get out on a bigger main, reverse out from the fire. And this individual in this engine company did that. And we arrived and were staged. And I watched this individual hook up to the hydrant, not through his engine. The 5-inch he laid to the hydrant, he DC'd and put it to the hydrant, did not source pump. So the point I'm making is this goes back to, we don't know our jobs. And this institutional fire ground knowledge, guys like Mark are leaving, and for whatever reason, these lessons aren't being pushed down. And ultimately, it's the department's responsibility to make sure the people in the rank know what the hell they're doing. And clearly, this individual either didn't have the information, wasn't taught that, or didn't pay attention in school. I don't know, but it's not just that example. It's ongoing at every rank. It really is. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean, but I just thought of that when you said absolutely. And yet we got guys that don't even understand that concept of a source pump. Why wouldn't you, right, Cam? Like, why wouldn't you? I don't care if you're 100 feet or 600 feet away. Why wouldn't you?
Well, here's the worst thing is you manifold it, right? That's the worst.
That's exactly what it is.
You manifold it. And the guy says, hey, I need pressure. The minute you put it in fucking pump, he gets 50 pounds. It's like, Jesus Christ, fuck, you don't even have to be a genius. If I don't even have to go out and touch the thing, I put it in fucking pump. Okay, hey, dude, I can sit here and not get cold and still smoke my fucking cigarette and not have the. It's like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. To go, hey, at the very least, to go, what is source pumping and what will it allow me to do? And second off, this 4-way valve, and Colin educated, I think they're what, $5,000 now or something like that. The expensive ones. I think you can get them cheaper, but
the one manufacturer sells them for like $6,000.
yeah, but it's like, it's an investment that you will recoup over and over and over again. You know, it's like, God, I mean, we buy 150 of them, and it's, yeah, let's just say they're paying $5,000, because if it was LEC, they're probably paying $10,000, but you know, whatever. That's their fucking business, not mine, although it is, because I pay taxes here. But you think about it and just go, what the versatility of what it does for a fire company on scene is crazy. And then the second thing is that 2-stage pump. It's got, I mean, everybody that thinks that they are flatland, your high rise or your mid rise is fucking coming. It's coming.
Get into that, Bart. Get into that 2-stage versus, get into that PSI versus volume.
So what they teach our guys is that 70% of the rated pump capacity, they go into volume, right? So it's 1,500, it's 1050. So that's a magic number for them. If they're pumping 1050, they're going to go into volume. And the reason is, it takes that rig and it goes, whoa, that fucking thing is singing, man. It's off. It's levitating off the ground. And then it goes into a volume. So it just changes the impellers inline to side by side, right? So that's what's going on there on the water push. So these things aren't, it's just staying in there. It's pushing the water, and you can pass that pump capacity, that 1,500 GPM, because that's what ours is too. 1,500 GPMs, 150 PSI. And talk to these guys. Hey, yeah, I'm flowing 2,500 GPMs out of this fucking thing. And the rig is, you can talk, we can have conversation. It's like, fuck it, it's FM. We say all the time, it's fucking magic. It's like the difference of going and having this thing singing and going, that's it, I can't tap out. You know, we're running a ladder pipe, deck gun, portable monitor. And I got two and a half, one rig, decent hydrant. I mean, think about those numbers. You got 1,000 out of both of those two master streams that are sitting there. So you got 2,000, a 2.5. Ours are 325. So we're going now at 23, and then 1 or 2 inch and 3/4 coming out there. Another 400 gallons, guys. 2,700 gallons sitting on a hydrant and just kicking ass on this thing. And that's as a single line laid coming straight into the rig, right? Now take lane one, drag one. Now you got 2 supplies sticking to the same fucking rig. You got a guy source pumping to you. It's like, holy shit, man. And we always laid forward. If we were a light force, even if we were going to the ladder pipe, my captain wanted that guy next to us watching what the hell we were doing. He's telling that thing is sitting down there. We lay in line with a 4-way. Somebody better address that fucking hydrant for us, because he wants that water control. And that we always run with a manned ladder pipe. That's another one of my pet peeves, is these guys that run them unmanned. It's like, you don't know where that fucking water's going. Stop that bullshit. Stop it. Right? I've seen guys load cabs on the open cab era, and it's like, stop the bullshit. You want visual communication. That thing goes to low idle. That's on the guy that's operating that area ladder. Low idle, contact, direct contact, not fire ground contact. So if that guy gets in trouble, there's some safeties built in to help him get out of trouble. Right? And that means a shut off at the tip, a shut off from the supply line to the hose that comes and goes up on the ladder pipe, and then the engineer having his head on and watching that guy on the tip of that thing. And he can't watch that guy if he's around the corner down at the hydrant. He can't see that guy get in trouble, because that's where the shut off. We all know you shut down at the source if possible first. That's what you want to do. Everybody else will gate down. You shut that thing down, you're asking for a whole new set of problems. So keep those in mind.
Cam, did you guys have to deal with this clean cab concept?
The concept was there. Luckily, it didn't stick. And so for us, we never had to deal with that too bad. We just ordered, hopefully, a few engines, but we just ordered one engine and on this new spec, and the new spec still has pack in the cab and stuff. So we're good there.
Good on you. That's been a point of contention in my agency for a while now, based off an anecdotal study out of Florida that wasn't supported by any, federal organization. And now the manufacturer, of course, the apparatus manufacturer, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will say it's interesting that the apparatus manufacturer is the one pushing this the hardest, which makes sense for them at that dollar to that dollar bill, right? If you have a stale client, maybe a mid-sized to smaller organization, borrow their engines, they're good for 10, 12 years. But then you have the ability to introduce a clean can concept where they need to move those air packs out of the cab and add a compartment, thus changing the entire apparatus spec, bringing them right back to the table square one again. And I mean, I'm sorry, follow the money, because the ultimate clean cab is so much more than moving your air packs out. It's two sets of terrain. I just wondered if you were dealing with it, because it's definitely been a point of contention. Guys want to be there and get ready to go, and they hate this idea of now having to go to an additional compartment to put their pack on. And Mark, I know with California, that's no big deal, because you guys have been, your packs haven't been in the seat, but they've been across on the floorboard, right? I mean, they're in. Well,
not since '06 in the trucks. Since '06, when I got my LaFrance, all breeders moved outside the cab, and ours wasn't clean cab. You're gonna love this one. It was, what happens if you guys get in an accident? You got missiles sitting inside the cab. And it's like, no, we don't, because we lock them down. They're ladder strapped in. So I brought it to the guy that was doing the supposed, the propeller head that sat at the shops, equipment engineering. And he's telling me about all this stuff, right? And he's got this lollipop, and all I can think about is I want to kick that thing and just shove it down his throat as he's telling me about what the apparatus is. And I go, well, that's funny, because you spec these streamlights that sit up on the engine cowling with a plastic base, and they each weigh 8 to 10 pounds. When I get a head-on collision, you don't think that thing's coming out of its fucking saddle? And it's like, and he's looking at me, and I go, and they're sitting on top? That makes sense. But we got these breeders that are sitting down at ground level, so when a guy's got a cab, it's convenient to throw, and they're ladder strapped in. Gee, I wonder which one's going to let loose. It's just like, hey, dude, get a firm hold of your ears and pull your head out of your ass. I'm trying to tell you something that's practical. And second of all, so you guys stop wasting money on putting these bitching chrome doors. Yeah, it looks good on the rig, but you got to get outside to go through it. And then they're not mounted vertical. The driver's was mounted horizontal. It's like, come on, you dipshits. Obviously, you've never had to put one on. That's it, right? Because if you had to put it on, you'd see my side of the story, because you never ask. And that's the issue.
Yeah. We had to fight the manufacturer a little bit over when we had gone to pressure governors for a second from discharge pressure relief valves. Then we went quite low pressure on our nozzle packages, and so we wanted to go back to discharge pressure relief valves. They did not like that, and there's a lot of good things about pressure governors with their anti-cavitation features and stuff like that they have, but
drums it down. The big pound, tell me, down, not having to know how to actually pump.
If you hit that pre-select, right? Man, we're fortunate with the Wasatch Mountains being right around us. Our pressure is never an issue. The pressure is not an issue. We have a really good water supply system in the city as well. But we could have 2.5s coming off 150, 200 feet at, 80, 90 pounds of pressure. And we're getting that off of hydrant, and we're gating it down on our pump panel. And a pressure governor, if you get a couple lines off, it ain't doing nothing for you, because you're at idle, and it can't make that engine go to idle anymore. But a discharge pressure relief valve, I can crank that sucker all the way down to 70 PSI, and it'll stop pressure, and it'll bleed it out on the intake side. Their solution for us was, hey, don't get rid of the pressure governor. Just go ahead and gate your intakes down, so that you have to create false pressure with your engine.
Right.
Have to raise your RPMs because you're gated at your intake. And we're like, hey, we don't even like the.
Well, I mean, I might be stupid because I wasn't an engineer, but you don't know truly what's coming out of that fucking line then.
No.
Right?
No.
I mean, how fucking retarded. We depend on water to mitigate emergencies, and we have a flow set at the tip, but gate down your fucking discharge gate? Oh, God, man.
Yeah, so this is something I was just like, hey, you've got to listen. And the guys that are hacking the rigs have to be given the ability to make those decisions, instead of just listening to random people at the manufacturer or whatever else that has that opinion that's not street level, real life, good knowledge.
And we got to do a better job of, Mark talked about PD does this. We got to do a better job of communicating between agencies and being open when someone reaches out, or not being afraid to reach out and find out if that's working for you or what the problems with that. Like first time I was exposed to that 107 rear mount, that blind,
Yeah.
All that jack.
Pierce Ascended was with you guys, right, Cameron? And when we were teaching up there, and I said, hey, tell me all about this, because the room and real swirling that we might be going to that. And I brought back that list of things to try to, hey, if you're thinking about this, please consider these things, or reach out to this guy. Did you ever get a phone call, by the way?
No, I never did.
Oh, okay. Copy that. So anyways, yeah, that's, we gotta share info. We can, and talk to each other.
Yeah. 100%.
Did you guys, you talk about, Mark, getting it down, and you really don't really know what you're flowing. Have you guys considered those FRC valves with the, you have your pressure, but also there's that digital readout of GPM on each gauge?
No, we've never actually, like, with a flow meter installed into it.
Yeah, on every discharge?
No, we never have done that, right? We just have our flow meters for any large diameter, but not for your cross.
I'd really like I've made that recommendation. Hey, look into these to my apparatus. The concern is like durability over time. I don't know, but that would be something that I think was in the interest of firefighter safety in the building. You would look into. I know New York City has them, or at least they used to spec them on their engines, but
actually knowing for sure what your flow is.
Well, at least you got a number to bounce off, Yeah, they talked a lot about those gauges in relation to that Boston line of duty death, where those guys stretched that line interior dry. And then they call in for water. The engineer, I'm trying to remember, so bear with, but something to the effect, the engineer charged the line, but these guys were calling for water, and they didn't realize between them, the nozzle, and the engineer, there was a burn through inside the building for stretch and dry. And this guy's revving up and pumping. And he's like, dude, you should be off the floor. He never clued in at why is that? And maybe a GPM readout would have been more obvious too, because we understand GPM, right, over PSI. I mean, unless you're a really salty engineer that knows that relationship. But when I'm flowing according to this, 300 GPM out of an inch recorder,
they're saying, hey,
and they're still calling if they need more water. Something's up.
Yeah, sure. Anything else with the apparatus spec you guys want to touch on today?
Oh, we could go on and on. I mean, maybe there's a part two to this.
That's what I feel like too, because there's some other parts that I think are.
And I think that'll be good if we can get some input, right, for people and address that in the second part.
Oh yeah, like
Anybody would be amazing.
Anybody listening, feel free, give us your insight off pulling all off the back. I'd love to hear, if we're missing something on that.
How you spec your rigs,
Yeah,
like pump panels, but the relief valve versus the pressure governor. I mean, that's what we're bringing. That's why we wanted to bring this thing out, was let's get stuff out in the open. Let's stop the shit of, hey, commissioner secret shit, right? Because we have that, and on my job, it's like, I hate it. I hate when guys hoard shit and go, hey, give me another idea and tell me why. Don't just say, hey, because.
Yep.
You can kind of what's going on here.
send those statements to DM the West Coast Offense on the IG. We'll have the YouTube page, right, Cam? Or the email to westcoastoffense@gmail.com. Hit us up. Let us know if we're completely off base or we're dipshits here, please.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, guys, for today?
No, sir.
No, I'm good.
Thanks for taking the time, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.